Hello, friends, fellows, and enemies. Wing Chun is spelled a lot of ways, but it's really only one thing. So let's get that straight. And I'm trying to specifically and clearly label WT Wing Chun in contrast of Traditional Wing Chun, TWC. WT compared to TWC, not versus. We're done with that. That's been clearly decided how each person wants to play and which worldview they want to have. So we got two different worldviews. We only can talk about what it is. So, what is it? Everybody does a visual-based martial art. I see it. I present my arms and legs to intercept it. It's what you do from there that makes you Wing Chun or not. So if you have to, I see it, and I see it, and I see it, and I see it, then you're doing karate. That's what we call it. Now you can relabel everything, but karate is block, punch. It's a trainable system. They might not fight like that. We're talking about training. So you as a Wing Chunner have the first job is to prove that you're not just doing the karate you started with and just new synonyms for the moves. So when the TWC people call something a high block punch, we call that a karate Wing Chun. Very low quality at that point. Now you can show us a Chi Sao based attack that turned into a high block based on doing something from Chi Sao. Imagine there's a person. Then you could say it's in the acceptable quality for Wing Chun. And I'm chasing advanced Wing Chun. What would that be, right? Which one is it? Next up, again, I'm going to say it again. I really like Sifu Jason's stuff. He was in Australia, and Grandmaster William Chung didn't have a lot of people checking what he was doing. So he got to just say stuff. If he caught a high block, no one would say, that's not based on Chi Sao Centerline. Seems to me. So I like the way Jason presents it. He's just like, this is what he said around here. You get to the United States, people, and they had this battle with the WT Lung Ting organization. We got to publish in the magazines back then, right? So we were talking about a Centerline-based Chi Sao system and an orientation of aim where everything in the whole body is using the one central line, right? So we're using everything on this line for our decision-making tree. And the Paths to the Center by Confucius and all of these other Chinese poems and philosophies talk about from a single point spreading outward. TWC then could not use that and validate that Lung Ting was a closed-door student. Uncle Yaman, as was said in New Martial Art Hero number 56, they were stuck, right? They did not want to validate what Dr. Lung Ting said. So by undermining his authority, they created a different set of trying to say the same thing. And God bless them, right? It was a competition, and they won the competition. They're considered the official Wing Chun representatives through the 90s, right? So we're talking about the quality now. So, Grandmaster Sifu Level Randall, Sifu Randall has posted the Central Line videos and the 5 Centerline videos, and I'm going to go through it now as I've interpreted it, and I have a video by somebody else I may link to that does the same thing. So the center ER line is right here. You can define it however you want. And then when I turn myself using my center line through my trunk, let's say with a bong sao against some energy. They call the central AL line to be this line that's still towards you, the attacker, or the camera. So my center has turned, and my central is where the attacker still is. And they might do stuff like this with their center, central. And then Sifu Randall defines it as this cross tan sao position as it goes up and down. I believe he is saying the lines drawn by the fingertips are the line. So there are two lines in the center, but you only use one of them when you turn. So I'm going to put my hands out on these lines defined by the fingertips as he does it in their form. So I'll put the hand sao out there. And if I turn, yeah, and if I turn with my two central lines, while I'm facing you, my central lines are defined out here somewhere. That's a lot bigger than this. So that's my first case in point. If I actually use the central line the way they use it, it's still here from where I started. There, it's still there. It is not in that spot where we put the arms. If I use my shoulder turn, it's way over here. So that's this big area. So this is where it starts to break down because the synonyms don't necessarily work in math. So to define this line, the center line remains constant when I turn. And so the two lines that are made by my fingertips remain constant when I turn, right? And then the point that Sifu Randall is making is that you can twist inside this quite a bit and still have pretty good use of your arms. Great. That is true, but it doesn't have any relevance to the use of the center line to aim. So he's describing a way that the center line that's being used to aim gets moved off to become a line, right? That's blocking. And then the center line remains the line used for the aim. Really? TWC? So you suddenly turn the aim line, that's the center line, to aim. You suddenly turn it into the central line for your punch. And you have the center line now become the aim of your block. That's what you're saying. You're saying your center line is aiming a block and thus leaves the attack line. And so then you have to have another line take over the name. Why couldn't you just say all your attacks go on the center line? All the attacks go on the center line is what WT says. So you had to say the center line moves to defend, and the central line is the attack line on the edge of the space drawn by these two lines. When you turn, if you don't move your shoulder back, it's a lot. There's a dog howling. That must be really true. It's a lot of lines. Plural. So, these two lines, Sifu Alex Richter calls these the suspender lines. I hope that dog's on camera. They could be way out here, the way some people are. They could be little tiny, right? So there's some infinite number of vertical lines. Infinite number. And then there's an infinite number of horizontal lines. So when you go like this, you're including the space in the middle. I really like a couple of Sifu Randall's videos, right? The punch can be equally long, and the punch can punch out here and out here. If you want, you can punch out here, but you're going to get smacked and kicked in the balls and punched in the face if you do punch like this. You can only punch like this. I guess if he's saying, if you turn over here and look at where that punch really is going, it's somewhere over there, right? The dogs are going crazy. I must be onto something. So it's actually a really fat line, which we would call a flat plane or the surface of an area out here. And then as you rotate that surface on either direction, you actually draw an arcing surface. So now you're into three-dimensional space, or you could hold it out like on a wall. So now we'll keep it a nice rectangular plane out here. I've asked, how do you aim your system? So I've now defined what I interpreted from you is you use a center line to aim. And the center line is defined as the line from here to there, because you aim down a gun sight, the laser beam goes, that is your sight line. That has to be the line that we talk about for the sight line. Now it sounds like you are defining your mechanism, Sifu, as a flat surface that you point, and that you have quite a few shapes that go into this surface that do great jobs. And I'm totally fine with this definition. It's a flat plane that you are aiming, and then you open it up, or you have two of them, right? And so you keep one up, and you move another one over here, right? What I detest is this trick that tried to be accomplished, that you want the center line that was always the center line for this arm in those examples. This arm was always on the center line, and this arm wins the whole battle if you do it right. That's all you need is that arm. And you guys want to suddenly say the center line goes over to here, and you're going to just start in a side lean stance, so you have to punch on the central line. No, if you start in a side lean stance, then your center line is that line. That is not a central line. You turn away, and this is your center, ER, and your central line is this line over here. It's on the spot for your fingers from your starting position. No? So you want to define your starting position as square? And then turn to start? Which one is it? This is where you try to have it both ways. Synonyms in science are not equal. We don't use them. We are specific. Okay? So if you're going to start sideways, your center with an ER line is actually one of your central pillars. The science, baby. I'm not even in Singapore. Now, next up, in the other videos, you often define the line made by the crossing wrists. You go back and forth. I want to make sure you know that you have two lines drawn by your fingers, which are your central edges of the zone you can use. It defines, and this is Wing Chun geometry, it's right. That's what you do with the words. Now, you often define a line going up and down with this stuff. So I'm going to turn sideways for this. So you talk to us, TWC Sifus, and you define the line by going up and down. So that line is out here somewhere. There's a line going up and down out here, a line. And then you talk about it being in the body. Yeah, you talk about it being a line going up and down in the body. In those same lessons, TWC people say you twist on this line. It's the line that goes through the body, which in science is called the axis. If you twist on it, it's the axis of rotation, right? If you're doing mass and geometry stuff, it would be one of the axes in the three axes you would define, X, Y, and Z, to plot it out. So you talk about a line out here, but then you use it in here. So if we connect all those, you have a plane, a flat surface, a length and a width that cuts the body in half. And then personal training, I think it's a medial line that cuts us laterally in two, right? Or is that this is the medial? This is the medial line because the two halves are different. And then this is the lateral, horizontal midline, vertical midline. Okay, so we got to divide the body up. Transverse. I should look up my fitness words. So, it is not a line. It is a set of lines that draw either a flat plane. If you add another dimension, now you have a polygon. So TWC is often describing the polygon that is made by the Tsun Tao. So you draw part of the polygon there, right? And then later you have bong sao that goes from bottom to corner, right? The other bong sao. So now we have the lan sao, the bottom lan sao if you want. And then you got the gan saos. You got the gum sows, or the innermost tight one in the bottom corners. So there is a box out here. That's a polygon. It's not a line. And then if I move the box through space, or I change the shape of the box, I'm counting on its structures. This is a part of Wing Chun, but it's not a line anymore, right? And when I throw that box at you, I aim with the center line. I don't aim with a central line. My center line is my aim, and so to follow economy of motion and simplicity and directness, my aim should hit. I'm not trying to like bounce stuff off the wall indirectly, right? I'm not launching a trajectory over the walls to come down on a blind target, right? So my aim line should have turned. I'm not punching here from my center line. I'm not punching on my central line, right? I'm not going like this and aiming it over there. Do I do that? Yeah, there. I'm going to try to punch that thing over there and turn. I'm not doing it like that, am I? I'm always aiming it. Now, in conclusion, the aiming process is our worst feature in human self-defense because it has to use the brain. So if you're drunk, sick, distracted, surprised, the brain is your worst enemy. The decision-making process. Wing Chun, defined by WT, defined by Ving, economy of motion principle, if the way's free, go forward, center line. Yes? So you have to be aiming with the fewest choices, the fewest lines. And so, yes, this defines, if you average it out, this defines the center line. And you, all the rest of you are doing it right here, and you just don't want to do it like we do it. You come way down here. So technically your center line is only this big. You have to actually go all the way back to the end to finally get the drawing that has the two corners, the two bottom corners. When you turn sideways, it defines the box, the top front corners, and then the bottom back corners. Bottom front corners, top front corners, back of the box, center of the box. So the center ER line is defined by physics, and you can use whatever labels you want. How you aim is defined by you. So I'd like to know how TWC aims. What was the choice-making mechanism? Thank you very much. I'm trying to do this just in terms. So the central lines now, to me, are the front of the box, right? The front of the box, up and down. Those are the lines. So that those lines, that term can be valid. And then when you use that line to draw the sides of the box and the front of the box, you make a structure that you use in your decision-making process. And we have the same structure. We define it as the center line being in the middle and equal distance from this contact point, which is shared by both arms right here, using the Wing Chun wrist, which is 2 or 3 fingers below the flexible wrist, and where those two cross with a pin that goes through the sternum to the enemy is the commonest shared points for the top 2 center lines, the high punch line and the low punch line. The top 2. And then, of course, the legs have the third one. You can only have one leg up at a time, so you can only have one line down there, right? I got to stand on the other leg, so I can't do this. I can have 3 lines. And guess what? Those 3 lines average out again to this center line down low. So that's how we aim. Chopper coming over. Must be important. My final thing to say is, now that we've defined it into simple, fastest, most is best is single line aim, single line mechanics for arm. We're going to even get our leg up in that line when we do our thrust kick. All of our footwork, all of our chi sao, all of our mechanics then are based off of that one energy vector. So, not 2 energy vectors. I don't do chi sao like this, right? It's not, I do chi sao like this on one energy, and I get bent off that line and I return to it. If I get pushed off that line, it is my center line that is the middle of everything. Okay.
If I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they blow your hands. Baby, never mind, 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 never mind. What if I left, then it made no sense. And you tell your friends and they blow your hands. Baby, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind.